Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third/and fourth stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. Because in today's update, I really just want to talk a little bit more about the status of where we currently stand when it comes to all of the negotiations with the fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package. Because we do actually now have a bill, a brand new bill that's supposedly going to be coming on the way, that's being drafted up right now. Now, I do also have a little bit of news, I guess, for the third stimulus check that I'm going to be sharing at the very end. So if you happen to still be waiting, although this news technically relates about certain people that might be getting actually even more payments, even if you actually have already gotten your third stimulus check. So huge congrats if you guys. It really just applies to certain people. We're going to talk about where we currently stand with the payments, and I kind of want to also just talk about where all the negotiations have been going, especially with even the infrastructure bill, because it does tie a lot into the probability of whether or not we're going to actually be able to see a fourth stimulus check happen, and basically the chances of that. So we're going to talk all about that, but before we begin, as always, make sure you smash the like button in light of the fact we at least have an approval and more payments that are hopefully going to be coming, and more payments that have already arrived. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about anything. Maybe consider subscribing if you're interested in videos similar to this, and also put a couple videos at the very end talking about the fourth unemployment program, a $400 unemployment program that has actually already been approved but is still very under the radar. If you guys haven't heard about that, highly recommend that. You might be able to bump your unemployment in the very near future for some people, but it'll make a lot more sense. But with that being said, let's get this video started. So the story right now with the fourth stimulus check is that there's currently still very much a push, that there's a lot of senators, I believe specifically about 21 senators, that are trying to do a push for monthly reoccurring $2,000 stimulus checks, that have recently wrote a letter to Biden trying to push for a potential fourth stimulus check to be included inside of his plan. This letter was technically written about 2 weeks ago, so at the very end of March, but I believe is that many articles are just talking about it now because they're really just trying to start to release and really, I guess you can say, really share it to the public. So even though it was written two weeks ago, it is still relatively pretty recent. And the story right now is that Biden is still very much focused on his infrastructure plan. He actually hasn't really commented too much about what he thinks about the fourth stimulus check. I believe right now is that now there's actually a little bit of uncertainty about whether or not Biden can even get his own infrastructure plan to go through. I think it looks very likely. I think it's something is probably going to go through eventually, but just maybe not necessarily this plan. And it kind of ties on to another thing is because a lot of the senators that are trying to push for the fourth stimulus check, they want Biden to try to include it inside of his plan. However, a lot of the GOP, the senators, a lot of the Republicans, they're still not fully in support of this plan. And I think that it's because of this reason a lot of Republicans now, especially in the Senate, are trying to create their own bill right now as basically a counteroffer to Biden's plan. Essentially, they're trying to create their own infrastructure plan that's supposed to be priced at around $800 billion. I believe the one that's really being focused on right now, it's led by Mitt Romney and 10 other GOP senators. So really just 11 people in total that are trying to draft out their own bill. Now, we don't know about what's currently going to be in this bill yet because they're still kind of, really just still waiting for the details. But I think the general idea is that it's probably going to be a really big downsized version of just the infrastructure plan that we've really been talking about for the last basically about a couple of weeks. Now, in terms of the probability that we're going to be able to see this fourth stimulus check, because I know a lot of people have been asking if this is really just like a bluff or if this is actually something that's really going to be happening. I think the general idea right now is that there's definitely a really big push, and there's even a big growing push. I think compared to like even several weeks ago, I think that the push to try to do a fourth stimulus check is actually growing. However, if I had to personally, just my personal gut is, I think that whether or not we see a fourth stimulus check is really going to depend a lot more about how the economy is going to go, including the job job market, the unemployment rates, and everything that's been going on over the next couple of months. The argument right now, I believe, is that a lot of people believe is that there's an even greater need for stimulus checks, because we're kind of, and as we've kind of mentioned in, I believe, like one of the past videos, about how we're going through something called a K-shaped recovery. So the story is that even though there are many parts of the economy that are getting a lot better, there's also a lot of industries that are still trying to recover and that are still very, very much struggling. And many people believe, according to lots of surveys, research, just people asking around and just the data that they found, is that the $1,400 stimulus check, it probably lasted a lot of people less than a month. I think a lot of people spent that. It goes pretty fast, especially if you come from a high cost of living area. For example, like I'm in New York. So I think that there's a lot of push right now that one of the beliefs is that because the economy hasn't fully recovered back to the pre-pandemic levels yet, that they may really want to try to push for something to maybe speed up the recovery, to maybe potentially make it happen. And actually, I think the true answer, really, if I had to just personally give my personal opinion, is that even though this fourth stimulus check would, of course, support a lot of the people that really need it, I actually really believe, though, is that this fourth stimulus check can actually also help a lot of people that are even on the rich side too. So even a lot of people that may not necessarily be struggling, I do think there is something to gain from the fourth stimulus check, aside from the fact that they maybe will include other programs aside from the stimulus check to stimulate the economy. But it's actually also very necessary, because right now both sides, there's actually a lot of fear right now about a possible massive inflation coming. So why this is really particularly important is because in order for the economy to continue to really be able to thrive, stay healthy, regardless of what economic class you're in, money has to move. So if you end up in a case where a lot of customers, end up not having the money to spend, because, of the lack of a stimulus check, like most of last year, then the problem is that if a lot of customers and people don't have as much money to spend, then businesses also don't make as much money. And then in return, a lot of times for survival reasons, there's a lot of fear that a lot of the prices may start to really hike up. You may have even already noticed it. A lot of prices have been going up over the last couple of months. Things such as like gas, groceries, food. So if this inflation or price hike continues to increase, it is not unheard of or not unlikely that we may even end up seeing one day where people are spending $20 on like one meal of McDonald's. And I remember like just several years ago when you used to be able to get like a solid meal at McDonald's for just $5, $6, $7, and now I think that it's up to about $10. But this isn't just with McDonald's. This is actually with literally like the prices of almost everything, like gas, groceries, food, drinks, I don't know, alcohol, just regular, expenses, everything that really goes on, even real estate, housing. But the general idea is that the push and the support for the fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package, it's growing right now, and I think there's definitely a lot of intentions. We just don't know where it's going to go, and it's probably going to really be heavily influenced by how the economy actually physically goes. Now, I really just want to end this maybe just talking to maybe some people, if you happen to still be waiting for your third stimulus check, although this actually applies even if you have already received your third stimulus check. But so the IRS has actually recently released a statement that they're hoping to start to actually send out a lot of plus-up payments. So a lot of people, for example, even if you actually got your third stimulus check, there were a lot of people that might have either been underpaid, so maybe they didn't get the complete stimulus check, or maybe especially if you maybe have a family and you maybe had a child last year, or basically the idea is that if something about your situation changed where you might have actually qualified for more stimulus check money than that you actually got, whether it's because you got less than the 1,400 or even the 600 or the 1,200, basically any of those stimulus checks, or you had a child, or just something ends up changing up about your eligibility, the IRS has recently released a statement that they're hoping to potentially not only send out more checks for people still waiting in the next week now, but also as a plus-up payment for anyone that maybe already got their checks but are owed even more money. So a lot of people were wondering about that. What happens if I was underpaid? The great news is that the IRS has come out that they're hoping to send it soon. So that is the really great news. But beyond that that's pretty much what I really just wanted to cover in today's update, to kind of give you guys a status of where we stand with the $2,000 stimulus check, and also anyone that's still waiting for the third stimulus check. So hopefully if you guys found that insightful, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing for future videos like this. I'll also put videos at the very end about certain programs that have actually already been approved, so not speculation, but have already been approved. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything else. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, have an incredible weekend, or have an incredible start to the new week, depending on when you are watching this. And with that being said, thank you guys again, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys again.